The following podcast may contain adult language and an abundance of salt. So get ready, nerds, because we're wrapping up Horror Movies Go to Space Week with Jason X. Hey everyone, welcome to the Salty Nerd Podcast. My name is Matthew Kadish. I am filling in for Alex as he goes on something called a vacation with his family. How dare he? Anyway, we are going to be talking about the 10th Friday the 13th film titled Jason X today. And with me, as always, is our fantastic panel of nerds, starting with my lovely lady life partner, Juju. How you doing?
Oh, hello.
You hated this movie, didn't you?
Oh my God, I hated it so much.
Like red hot burning rage.
I'll talk about it.
All right. And of course we have Brian from the Popcast filling in for Alex. How you doing?
What's happening?
And then of course we have Conspiracy Tom, who's over there on his phone checking messages. How you doing, buddy?
Sorry, I'm about to head off to work in a minute. So I'm actually checking work emails and seeing what's going on there. And there's all kinds of problems, obviously.
How dare you have a day job?
Don't
you know you're on a podcast, goddammit?
Well, considering the only payment I've ever got for the podcast is a t-shirt the last time I was here.
That you never wear when you're on the show.
Well, I have to wear Conspiracy Tom t-shirts.
Okay.
I have to go with my brand.
Be like me. I live in a van down by the river.
Down
by the river.
Actually, in some circles, that would be considered badass as hell.
It would be.
So it's
Van life.
It's not
Hashtag
even
van
like a
life.
bad thing anymore.
All
not
the cool
anymore.
kids are doing it.
Yeah, I have an old school bus with wood inside, and they're like, "Yeah, it's what a life!
I'm free.
What a life!"
Free to poop on the ground. Like,
So real quick, I just want to go around and get everyone's general take on Jason X. So Brian, just give me like your quick general overview. What did you think of Jason X?
I loved it. I'm not joking. This is not sarcasm.
Are you a Friday the 13th fan?
Nope.
No? Okay.
I'm upset.
Tom, what was your overall take on Jason X?
It's not the worst Jason movie. That's my take.
Yeah, and that's true.
That's true. It's not the worst one. It's not.
All right. And Jude.
Whatever
what was
Jude says.
What was your take?
I'm going to give you a spoiler for later on in the show by telling you this movie made me angry to watch. I watched the last 40 minutes of it with my sweater pulled up over my face.
Because it was so scary?
No, because it was so stupid. Oh my God.
This
I
was
hated
more
it so
stupid
much.
than Leprechaun
You
4.
bet your fucking ass, buddy.
What are you talking
That's
about?
really crazy.
You are
All right,
stoned right now.
We're going to get into it in a second. But before we do, we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to dive deep into Jason X. Hey everyone, welcome back. And before we get going, I just want to remind you to go to saltyner.com/DC to download Dragon Champions. It's a really fun hero collector game that we all play at the podcast, and I've been playing it for a number of years. The developers of Dragon Champions really believe in us, and so if you want to help support the podcast, download the game, go to the promo code area and type in SALTY to get a great starter pack filled with gold and character shards and all types of fun stuff to get you going. And when you hit level 20, be sure to join our Salty Nerd Guild in the game, where we go on raids and have all types of fun stuff, and we chat on Discord about it. So if you want a fun mobile game to waste some time playing, check out Dragon Champions. It's a really fun game. All right, Jude, Jason X, take it
All
away.
right. 2001 Jason X, rated R with a runtime of 1 hour 32 minutes, but feels like 13 hours. This had a budget of $11 million. What do you think this made?
11?
$6 million.
You think it made 6? All right, Tom.
It went to the theater. I remember this movie. I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say it made $25 million.
Somewhere in between. So this made $17 million.
Fair enough.
Made his budget.
Yeah.
Now, one of the interesting things about this movie is that even though it made $17 million in theaters, it is the highest grossing Friday the 13th movie ever on home video. This thing killed it on home
I
video.
don't understand that.
Yeah.
I get it.
A good cover. A good cover always sells.
What was the mask?
And the mask.
Yeah, it was the metal Jason
Yeah,
mask.
it looks awesome.
No.
It does look cool.
Well, it's
On the cover, not
on
in
the cover,
not
yeah.
in the movie, yeah.
And the movie is always a...
Oh, yeah, not in the movie. Yeah.
All right, Jude, what's this movie all about?
In 2455, the crew of the Grendel find the cryogenically frozen remains of Jason Voorhees and the scientist who trapped him on Earth 1. They take the bodies onto their ship, and on the way to Earth 2, pump the scientist full of nanobugs to regenerate her and keep their backs turned toward the thawing Jason. When the crew starts getting murdered a bunch, they have their bowl haircutted sex robot fight him. But when he falls into a vat of nanobugs, not even the upgraded android, now in leather, can defeat Uber Jason. And the crew must use their wits and Technicolor space slut holograms to escape. Discuss.
Yes.
And you didn't enjoy that?
It was awesome. First off, I have one really nitpicky thing I have to talk about. When he brings out the upgraded sex robot with the gun, he's like, yeah, I uploaded her.
Gave her an upload.
It, as a tech person,
upgraded.
It really bothered me that he didn't say the word upgraded. Holy crap.
I was kind of
I wanted to
upset
reach
about
the screen and be
that,
like, why are you saying that word?
Like-
It's upgrade, not
why do you
upgrade.
say that word?
Like he hacked her mainframe?
I think the script said
I'm gonna have
upgrade,
to hack the mainframe.
but the actor's not very smart. So
Yeah.
and they just ran with it because they don't know anything.
It was 2002, right? It was 2002 or 2001. When did it come
2001.
out?
He should have known.
People didn't know about computers back then. They didn't know what the fuck's going on.
I was literally in the middle of like a computer science degree. Lexa Doig is in this, who's also in Andromeda, Stargate, Fire, like a lot of. She's like sci-fi royalty. She's literally married to the Daniel Jackson from Stargate.
Yeah, she's the main character in this one. She's like the female scientist that gets thawed out in the future and stuff like that.
And she's great.
She's not bad. Yeah, she's good.
She's the only good actor in this movie. The rest of the actors are not great.
Peter Mensah, the Sergeant Brodsky guy, the big black guy. He's been in tons of stuff too. He's a great actor.
I'm just saying in this movie, that she's the only person I thought stood out. But the reason I'm saying I like this movie, and I'm going to be really quick with this, is because it's the only movie in weeks that legitimately made me laugh so hard, my stomach hurt. And it's when they do the hologram thing and the campers are like, hi, would you like to have some premarital sex?
Okay, that did make me laugh.
And then it cuts to him beating the crap. I have never laughed harder in months. It was excessive. He kept hitting the tree, then he said the floor. That was so funny.
That was the only good part.
That one scene is enough to gain a star right there. Right there, you get a star.
You got 4 titties.
Right. They're acting ridiculous, like
Ridiculous.
like the old 70s, 80s movies.
Oh, yeah.
And then he doesn't respond at all. He just beats it. It was so funny.
It was so funny.
I want to be clear how funny. I rewinded it. I watched it like 30 times. My wife came out. She thought I was watching a porn movie because the way they were talking. It was just ridiculously fun.
So the story behind that scene is that basically they didn't have enough nudity in the movie, and the studio came to the director James Isaac, and they were like, you need to put in like a scene with holograms where like there's titties, because like people who watch Friday the 13th, they want some nudity. And he's like, but it doesn't fit. It doesn't fit in the movie. And they're like, well, figure out a way to make it fit. And so he's like, okay, well, if we're just going to throw it in anyway, let's make it into a joke. And so like there's a scene where there's a holographic Camp Crystal Lake, and they're using it to distract Jason so that the main characters can get to safety. And there are these 2 female campers who take off their tops and they're like, you want to smoke some pot and have premarital sex? Yeah, we love premarital sex. And it's kind of funny because like throughout the movie, like they kind of play on that joke where a frozen Jason, who, they're kind of doing an autopsy on, he senses all the sex going on the spaceship and slowly comes back to life because of all the sexual energy feeding his rage.
So good.
Yeah. And, but the holographic camper scene where they're just like, yeah, let's have some premarital sex. Like that was pretty funny.
I don't remember the last time I laughed that hard. Mm-hmm. I was laughing so hard.
Certainly not during a Jason movie.
My stomach was hurting. It was it came out. Prior to me watching it for this show, I had not seen it. I had no reason to. I watched the first like 3 or 4 Jason movies, but I wasn't a big fan of Friday the 13th. And so I watched it for this show, and I was like, I gotta go back and watch all the Jason movies now. Because if there's only one scene like that in every movie, it's worth every minute.
Well, it's funny because Kane Hodder, who plays Jason in this movie, and he played Jason from like the number 7 on. And he's actually one of the more famous actors to play Jason, just because he gave Jason a lot of his like swagger. So like at a certain point in Friday the 13th 7, they were doing a take where he was like killing a camper, and they had to do it so many times to get it right, and he got frustrated, and he came up with the whole taking the sleeping bag and hitting it against the tree.
That
and
is
killing
the best kill scene in any Jason movie.
It's the most famous Jason kill.
And so like he just ad-libbed that, and so like this was a callback to that where like he did it. And unfortunately, this is the last movie that he plays Jason in.
That's unfortunate because I liked him. I like his build. He's so stocky.
Yeah.
It looks like it's not like the typical, big butt. He's like a stock. He looks like a real, actual bad guy.
He looks like Jason.
Yeah.
He looks like Jason.
He looks like Jason.
Yeah, and the upgrade version of Jason is ridiculous, but I think it's supposed to be ridiculous. So I'm okay with it.
Oh God,
Uber
I hate
Jason.
that so much.
Uber Jason. He's from the future.
Once he falls into the nano-ants.
The nano.
And he becomes Uber Jason. I was like, fuck this movie so much.
I know that's stupid. But I think it's meant to be stupid.
Yeah.
it's
I've
Jason.
always felt
Right.
like
Yes, it's Jason.
It's supposed to be
It's meant
stupid.
for like, you're running from Jason who walks at like 3 miles an hour,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden you trip, and you're like, I can't get up. Oh no!
Well, the initial pitch for this movie was the screenwriter took Alien and Aliens and combined them and said, instead of a xenomorph, we're going to have Jason. And so like if you watch the movie carefully, you'll see that like basically the Space Marines are all pulled from Aliens. The whole kind of concept of this movie is basically Alien, but with like Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, that's basically right.
Yeah, when they're running from him and they accidentally leave the scientist behind, and you're like, or the doctor or whatever, that one guy, like, oh no, where's Dr. So-and-so? Like, really, guys? Like, you guys ran 13 feet and you just forgot you left the guy that, first off, why didn't he run with you?
Mm-hmm.
How did you leave? Was he stuck? Did he get stuck to something? It makes no sense, but it was so fun. And the best kill I've seen in a horror movie in a long time is the cryo.
Where he dunks the head into the
and then smashes
So the
it.
scientific term for that
Yes.
liquid would be LN2, like liquid nitrogen type
Yes,
stuff.
liquid nitrogen.
Whatever it was, that was a really cool scene because how terrified that chick was. She was like screaming
Yeah.
bloody. It felt really real. And then I thought to myself, that might be the worst way to go.
and then after
That's a rough one.
After he freezes her face, he smashes it into the counter.
Yeah.
Oh,
And it just shatters.
that was a great kill.
I like the fact that Jason knew what liquid nitrogen was and used it as a murder weapon.
Who cares?
Like, did he know that it was liquid nitrogen, or is it just a sink
I
full
know,
of bubbly
but
water?
you're watching a Jason movie. Like, you got to turn your brain off.
Well,
It's
they
not fun.
comment on how small his brain is. They're like, how does anyone with a brain that small think?
Here's the thing. So, like, first of all, they removed his eye, and then she put it into the liquid nitrogen. So he literally saw what it did.
You think so?
Yeah.
You know, the weird thing about Jason movies is like the first 4 Jason movies isn't even Jason.
Oh, that's right. So, like, the first movie is his mom,
It's his mom.
and then the second movie is like I want to say the second movie is Jason.
I want to say the second one is and he dies.
but the third movie is an imposter.
It's an imposter. Yeah. And then the fourth one, I guess that's when Jason comes back. I think Jason 4 is actually decent.
Wait. When does he go to hell?
Jason Goes to Hell was before
Oh,
this.
it is.
No.
It's 93.
Wow.
It was before this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, because here's the thing. So here's what's funny. This is why the movie is called Jason X. Is New Line Cinema was in a dispute with Paramount over the rights to Friday the 13th.
Right.
And so even though they could make a Friday the 13th movie, they couldn't use the title Friday the 13th. So that's why they said Jason Goes to Hell and then Jason X. So like, as long as they stayed away from the Friday the 13th title, they were allowed to make these movies.
Yeah, and the reason they made this movie and not the Freddy versus Jason was they were in talks to make that movie was because they didn't have the right people, but they wanted another Jason movie to come out because they wanted to keep the pump primed.
Well, they were trying to. They had spent years trying to get the Jason versus
Right.
Freddy thing
Yeah.
going, and in fact, the final shot of this movie is Freddy Krueger's hand coming up and grabbing the Uber Jason mask.
I'm pretty sure that the Freddy hand grabbing the Jason mask was the previous movie.
Yeah, I don't remember that in this movie.
It could have been. I might be mixing those
Because
up.
I never saw this in theaters. I saw that movie in theaters, and I remember the theater going absolute like crazy.
Yeah, you were talking about that earlier.
Yeah. Like that was like crossovers weren't a thing back then.
Yeah, that's like the Predator 2 with the xenomorph skull in the background.
Yeah, we were talking about it earlier.
But so that was like an awesome Easter egg. But this was even more telling because the actual character grabbed that like, oh, okay, so Freddy exists in this world. That was a big deal.
But the funny thing about this is that this was meant to kind of like prime the pump for a Freddy versus Jason crossover. But because of all the rights issues that they were struggling with trying to get that movie made, it kept getting pushed back. And this movie actually sat on the shelf for about 2 years because the head of New Line Cinema, who was the one responsible for making it and getting Freddy versus Jason going, left. And his replacement came in. He was like, I don't know about this. And eventually they were like, well, sitting on our shelf, we might as well put it out there. And so this movie actually came out 2 years after it was shot. And by that point, I think that they had kind of gotten the rights issues for Freddy versus Jason worked out. So one of the funny things about this movie is that the filmmaker David Cronenberg was the kind of mentor for the director of this movie, James Isaac. And he convinced Cronenberg to come on for a cameo role at the beginning. He's the professor who comes with the Marine guys to kind of take Jason away. And and David Cronenberg said, like, okay, I'll do it, but I have to die on screen. And so like he came on board, he hated all of his dialogue, so he rewrote all of his dialogue. And then like he gets killed by Jason within like the first like 10 minutes of the movie. But that is the legendary filmmaker David Cronenberg, who did History of Violence and
Fly.
And The Fly, Eastern Promises, all that stuff. Jude, I want to know, can you explain why you hate this movie so much?
Okay. Now that I'm at the end of it and looking back, I would like to say I hated this entire movie. That's not true. I wasn't looking forward to watching it because sequels that go to space are always stupid. But I had never seen it before. I love horror movies. I love bad horror movies. As soon as Jason became Uber Jason and he falls into a vat of nanobugs, which makes no fucking sense anyway. First of all, the nanobugs are stupid. They're ants. They call them nano-ants. It's so stupid. And then Jason doesn't need to be regenerated by nano anything. He already is unkillable. But the movie made it a point to make him fall into nanobugs so that he could come back with a cooler mask and be even more unkillable. It was so stupid. I hated it. The only thing that I liked after him becoming Uber Jason was the hologram scene with the Camp Crystal Lake. That was funny.
Right.
It didn't save the movie for me though. The movie still sucks.
So you know what's funny is like, so I think most horror fans, you're either a Friday the 13th guy or you're a Nightmare on Elm Street guy. And you obviously are more of a Freddy fan, right?
100%. I've seen every single one of them multiple times.
Yeah, and I'm more of a Jason guy. Brian, what would you consider yourself as?
I'm barely a horror fan, but if I had to pick one, it would be Freddy.
Okay, so like to me, like this was a very good Jason movie because we got a lot of kills, we got a lot of creative kills, we got a lot of Jason. And I kind of like the Uber Jason upgrade, even though he ends up not really killing anyone.
Same.
But Brian, how would you respond to Jude? Like, what do you think was good about this movie?
Yeah, everything you said you didn't like, I think was a good thing. Let me tell you why the nano-ants make sense, right? So nanobots, like their whole purpose, they're little tiny micro machines that go in your body and like rebuild things, right? Or upgrade things, like they specified in the movie.
Upload them, you mean?
I hate it when they said that. You're right, but it should have been upgrade. That guy made a mistake. They didn't fix that. But so what they did was when he fell into the thing, the nanobots did what they were meant to be, what they're designed or programmed to do, and it was to upgrade and repair this horror figure that has been, killing and being damaged and ruining his body for years and years and years. And now he's getting like this ultimate upload or upgrade from the nanobots. And that's what in all science fiction trope, all the science fiction tropes are like nanobots make things better. That's what they do. They make you a cyborg. They made a cyborg Jason.
God, I hate that.
I know you hate it, but it makes sense. It follows all the rules of science fiction.
I don't disagree with you.
And this movie followed its rules. Like that's what all the movies I've seen this week, they didn't follow any rules. They made no sense. Jason, I mean, even if it's a bad movie, because it's not a good movie, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But it followed it laid down rules and it followed the rules. And that's the best I've seen the whole week.
Fine, I accept that from you. And you can feel how you want about it, while I feel how I feel about it. I feel the
opposite.
I remember when we were watching this movie, so there's a scene where the main professor guy is kind of like alone with Jason.
Right.
And Jason comes up and picks up his machete that they kind of confiscated when they were like defrosting
Oh my God,
him.
that guy was so stupid.
And the guy's like,
Guys, it's okay. He just wanted his machete back.
and Jude audibly groaned, but like I was like, you know, the reason that was in there was because that was a trailer moment. I remember when the trailer for Jason X came out, that was like a big like laugh moment in the trailer. But you know, about 2 decades removed from the release date of this movie, Jude rolled her eyes and was very indignant about that line.
Yeah, you know, this trailer was just sick. It was like, it was made in like the 90s. And like there were parts in the movie that were designed just to make a trailer.
I would like to do a trailer reaction right now. Can you please bring it up?
No.
You know what's funny is nowadays they'll shoot additional footage for a trailer. But back then they had to write that footage into the movie to make sure they got a good trailer.
And also what made the professor creepy. So like in the movie, once he realizes who Jason Voorhees is, he's like, oh, I can sell him as a specimen and make a ton of money. And so like he wants to kind of preserve Jason throughout the movie. But right after that scene where he makes the decision to like sell off Jason as like, you know, medical specimen, one of his students comes in and she's like, I'm ready for my, you know, exam, professor. And she's got like these tongs. And like we see like...
Matt was like, what's she going to do with those tongs? And immediately I was like, oh, those are going on his nipples.
Yeah, yeah. And so like we have a very awkward sex scene where like she's basically just like twisting his nipples with these like metal tongs.
Yeah, so weird.
And her hair's all greasy and slicked back and it's like all super weird. And the professor's like super creepy. It was just like, it was a very uncomfortable sex scene, I think.
Creepy 90s stuff.
Creepy 90s stuff,
yeah.
Exactly. Technically creepy future stuff too. But there was another sex scene where basically 2 of the students in the lab are like, you know, so hot for each other they can't keep their hands off each other.
Oh my God, they're standing next to Jason's corpse and they're just so horny for each other. They can't even.
I love it.
Yeah. And so like
it's so stupid.
The lead research girl's like, okay, why don't you guys just go off and do your thing and I'll stay here and do the work. And so they go off, and later on in the movie, the guy is getting ready to leave their room. And when he opens the door, Jason's there and he stabs him. And the girl gets like blood, like, you know, her boyfriend's blood, who she just like copulated with, thrust all over her, and she screams. And one of the funny things is that scene where she gets blood all over her face. Mm-hmm. So originally she wasn't supposed to have blood splattered on her face because the effects guys were aiming for her chest. And they miscalculated, and the blood hit her in the face and it burned her eyes. And so that scream was like legit.
Oh my God.
And
I've used that excuse with my wife too.
Yeah.
I miscalculated, babe.
I got the math wrong.
Yeah.
I got the math wrong.
And so they kept that take in the movie because it was the most genuine reaction.
Of course
they were able to
I
get
bet.
from
They
that
weren't going to
actress.
get a take 2 out of that.
Dude, the liquid nitrogens, whoever that chick, she did amazing.
Yeah.
It was grabbing her neck. It's like, like, oh my. Dude, it freaked me out.
I would say the kills in this movie are very creative.
Very creative.
All right, guys. So we're going to get deeper into Jason X in just a minute. But first, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back soon. Everyone, welcome back. And just want to give you guys a heads up. If you like what we do here, you want to support the show, and you want to get some great episodes covering classic science fiction TV shows, go to saltynerdclub.com. There, for just $5 a month, you get access to 4 brand new episodes every month, plus our huge back catalog, where we review Star Trek, Stargate, Atlantis, Doctor Who, Orphan Black, Foundation, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Firefly, all types of shows. So like, be sure to come out, check it out, and support the show if you like what we do here. All right, now getting back to Jason X.
You know what? As we're talking about it, I think I have narrowed down why I hate it so much, why it makes me so angry. It's because there was nothing scary about this. There was nothing scary or creepy or nothing that made me go, oh shit. It was just a movie. And that's a waste of my fucking time.
It's a bad sci-fi movie with cool characters you recognize and some cool kills.
But I mean, like, other than the very first Friday the 13th, none of the Friday the 13th are actually like horror movies.
I disagree.
Okay, well,
They're slasher movies.
Well, they are slasher movies, but like they're not scary. It's all about like the creativity and the gore of the kills. The first one's kind of scary because it's like you don't know who's doing it or like what's happening. But as the franchise goes along, especially by the time you get to, you know, like Jason Goes to Hell and stuff like that, it's more about just like the kills as opposed to like the fright. Like it's just the movies aren't scary. I don't think they've been scary since maybe like the third or fourth one.
Yeah, I think I actually agree with you. But one of the scariest things I've seen in a Jason movie was I think it was Freddy versus Jason, when Freddy takes over the stoner's mind, and they're trying to figure out a way to kill Jason, and they're not cutting it, and Freddy needs this guy to die, so he takes over his mind, and he has like the syringes behind him, and he's like looking at this. The stoner goes from being like this, oh man, I like to smoke weed, to like that. And I remember,
I don't remember this.
I wasn't totally paying attention to what happened, and all of a sudden I saw this character that I was laughing at for like 20 minutes go evil. And I remember this moment where I was like, oh shit, what happened? I had to rewind it only to realize that Freddy was a part of it. It was really cool. And that was like the last scary thing in that movie. Everything else in that movie wasn't scary.
This movie is not exactly good, but as all Jason movies suck. None of them are good, but they do get funny. Like the violence starts becoming comical, right? Mm-hmm. Because Jason's kind of the hero in some weird way.
In a world where sluts are bad.
Exactly. Well, just like how Freddy kind of became like the main character, not the villain. He's like the main character, right? Yeah. Jason really became the same thing. So when they do the holographic Crystal Lake scene where it's like, okay, this isn't exactly a throwback, but it's what Jason is, right? And the best Jason kill of all time, we all know, is the sleeping. It's the only one we all remember.
Right.
I mean, there's ones he killed a guy with a weed whacker. That was pretty good. But the time that he took that chick and beat her up against a tree, you're like, that is the most brutal thing I've ever seen in my entire. I can't even imagine how brutal that is. It's like dead. And we watch it, and they're laughing the whole time and talking about premarital sex. I mean, it's genius. So I know you hate this movie. I really do feel bad because Leprechaun 4, I hated so much. So I feel your pain. I really do. I feel your pain on that. But at the same time, there's no way you can hate this movie nearly as much as Leprechaun 4. This movie almost made sense.
It almost made sense.
There was a script. The special effects were good. Yeah. I mean, this was a fine Jason movie.
Yeah, it holds up, man.
I disagree.
The nipples fell off the android, made me chuckle. She goes, I just want them. And I'm like, I get it. Sometimes I want those too, bro. I get that. Yeah.
That was a great scene where like the android wants to be more female-like so she can seduce the guy who's like upgrading her. And the nipple, like he has fake breasts and then fake nipples, and the nipples just fall off because they're magnetic. That was pretty funny.
It's funny. So there's lots of little humor in this. It is not scary. Like the idea of this being a scary movie is so far-fetched. It's comical.
No, it's not. At least it made sense how they got there, though.
Exactly.
How he got. I don't know how anyone else got to space, but he got to. We get how he got to space.
And it's far enough into the future.
I was just about to
where
say
it's
that.
like kind of like it's not 30 years in the future.
Right.
It's literally
it's 400.
It's what is it? Yeah, 400 plus years.
It
in the
makes
future.
so much more sense.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, sci-fi.
Thank you
for being at least a little bit smart and be like, you know what? 500 years in the future.
I can imagine, even if the script was the worst thing, I can see like Lexa Doig being like, hey guys, no, it can't be 30 years from now. Please fix that.
Yes.
Because she's done so much sci-fi from before this movie. She that's all she did was science fiction.
She's too good for this movie.
It's just such
she really is. Yeah.
It's like such a dumb sci-fi thing where they're like, oh, in 30 years.
It really is
like,
dumb.
Jesus Christ. Like, yeah.
Well, it's funny because Jude kept saying like all three of the main female characters look exactly alike and she couldn't tell them apart.
I can tell them apart.
For me, I think when writers do that, it's because like they are just so like self-involved that they really believe that in 30 years it's going to be so different.
It's not.
You know, it's not.
It's not.
But that's what the same reason he likes the movie is the reason I like the movie. I think that it was enjoyable. There was really funny parts. Like that one part was hilarious. And I thought that one quick kill was like epic. Honestly, when that chick started screaming,
it was fun.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God. I right there, I felt like I would hate to die that way. Holy shit.
I get what you're saying.
And the corkscrew death? What about the corkscrew death?
Yeah. I hear you. I don't disagree with you. Ooh. However, none of that shit saved it for me.
Really?
Yeah.
What was so bad that you couldn't have fun with it?
Jason X.
You mean the upgraded Jason?
No. I hate this movie. I hate that it's in space, which I know what I signed up for when I watched Jason in space.
It was all your idea, Jude.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
That's what Matt said. I have it in
Candace is
writing.
always twisting my words.
Matt, I have it in writing from Matt. He says, this is all Jude.
I mean, he understood the assignment. You said campy B horror movies in space. He picked the 3 campiest B horror movies there are.
This one cost the most to make.
It did.
It's obvious.
That's more than most
well,
movies
then I
now.
guess I'll marry it.
Oh, you space princess.
Leprechaun
I see what you
reference.
did there.
That's a callback.
That movie sucked way worse than this
It
movie.
was way worse.
Way worse.
Disagree.
Did you not laugh with the camper scene?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, oh my God, that was, I'm laughing right now.
Uber
Thank
Jason ruined everything. Like it was already a not enjoyable movie leading up to that, but I was watching it. I chuckled at a few parts. I was like, "Oh, that's fucking weird." Whatever.
You're hilarious.
There's so many fucking corridors in this spaceship
Yeah.
station,
There's a lot of
whatever.
corridors.
Yeah.
Then they
No
have
nightclub.
They have
that we
they
saw.
have a hologram dinosaur that they play with.
Yeah.
It's so,
I mean,
the
that's-
whole movie is fucking
They
stupid.
have a
But
holodeck.
As soon as it
Guys, it's a
normal.
holodeck, just like Star Trek.
As soon as it becomes Uber Jason, I was just like, that's it. I'm fucking done. And I watched the movie through my shirt.
You know, the funny thing is that Uber Jason doesn't actually kill anyone. Like he destroys the robot chick, but like other than that, he has no
he
kills.
already comes back from the dead. Why did we need nanobugs?
I was
And the
gonna say-
nanobugs were stupid.
Well, how they killed Jason, he didn't die. He just crashes to Earth too.
Right.
To the new lake.
Right. Oh, and then they took out that other space station. They killed all of those people.
Oh, all those people.
Yeah.
Yeah, they all died.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What?
the
Yeah,
screen,
when the ships crashed into the
Oh,
other
that's
ship.
right. Yeah.
the screenwriter came out and said that there were 20,000 people on that space station.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So you know what he wanted? He wanted to be in like whatever like the kill count is. You know when they have those books where it says like kill count books? He wanted to be at the top of the kill count for Jason X.
Right.
That's what he wanted.
The most kills of any Jason movie.
I like that. Yeah, I like that theory. That actually holds up pretty.
You can
pretty
tell.
well.
I know he was trying. I know.
That's cheap.
I see what you're doing,
Yeah,
Hollywood.
we see it, bro.
What was your favorite part of this movie, Brian?
I would say the camper scene, hands down. The camper scene. I haven't laughed that hard in literal years. So I loved it.
I agree with you. That scene was funny. That being said, I still hated it.
It wasn't a comedy though. I get it.
Yeah, yeah. And I'll admit, I have not seen every single Jason movie. He's not my guy. Freddy's my guy.
Sure.
And what I like about Freddy is probably it's different because not all of the Freddy movies are like traditionally scary slasher, but there's just something so charming about the way that Robert Englund plays him that I don't find as something that I like need to watch with Jason. I haven't seen all of the Jason movies, but like what I liked about them was that they are horror and slasher, the ones that I've seen. And I think now that we're sitting there talking about it, I think the thing, because we talked about it earlier, the Freddy versus Jason movie, and I hated that one too. And I think I did because it wasn't scary too.
Because it wasn't scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
It built on the lore and it added to the, and it wasn't a bad movie per se. Yeah, but it's lacking in like the jump slasher scare stuff.
Yes.
And that's why it makes total sense when you don't like it. Because it doesn't have those things. Both those movies don't have those things.
Yeah.
The scariest thing about Freddy vs. Jason was I don't even know if it was intended to be scary. The actor just pulled it off in a way that it was so creep me out so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the actors I want to point out in this movie is Peter Mensah, who plays Sergeant Brody. He's the big black guy. You think that he gets killed off early on. He ends up coming back. And he's the guy who basically has the final showdown with Uber Jason at the end in his like little spacesuit thing. And this is an actor like, like you've seen him in tons of things. He was in Spartacus, the Stars TV
He's a
series.
badass.
Yeah. He's a really good actor. Like he shows up in like tons of different stuff. And it was kind of funny seeing him in this movie because this was kind of earlier in his career when he did this. But he kind of like steals every scene that he's in. I really enjoyed, seeing him in this movie. What do you guys think was the most creative kill out of all of them? Jude?
I did appreciate the throwback to the famous sleeping bag kill. And Brian mentioned it earlier, the freeze kill.
So
Also
good.
great. Oh, the hologram one. Also, I thought this whole scene was stupid because they were like, huh, what's that? Oh, It's not shutting off. Oh no, I'm dead.
Well, one of the kills that you guys are kind of overlooking is when the android chick killed Jason. So like there's a big fuck yeah moment where the android girl shows up. She's got like two guns. She's just been upgraded, uploaded. Yeah,
I uploaded her.
Uploaded her.
Where'd you upload her to?
Gave her an upload.
And basically she takes on Jason and just like destroys him. It's the first time that Jason's ever been very soundly defeated in, I think, any Friday the 13th movie, except maybe the one with the psychic girl where she like messes him up.
I like that one.
Yeah,
that was a good movie.
But in this one, basically Jason just gets his butt handed to him by the cyborg chick. What did you guys think of that scene, Brian?
Oh, I loved it. I love it because I've seen a lot of Jason movies. Even though I'm not a huge horror fan, I do actually like the lore. Like I'm really into the Freddy Jason lore.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, probably because they crossed over when no one used to cross over. It wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So I love the lore of those things, and like the whole Freddy lore is great. What the hell and all that? It's amazing, actually. You can write like it can be a book that's not even based on horror, but Jason is always overpowered. Like always, he's always the most unstoppable force. And like it was like when Freddy versus Jason, it was like Rock versus
the immovable object with the unstoppable force.
Right, and Jason has like Freddy has lore that makes him powerful. Jason is just powerful. And so whenever you see Jason actually get his ass handed to him, you're like, oh, okay. There is limits to this character. He's not just an unstoppable, unmovable object.
I liked the lore when like the only way that you could kill him was to drown him because that's how he originally died. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, and Freddy versus Jason, that's like his big fear is like drowning,
That's cool.
Water. Yeah, but in this movie, like, yeah, he's totally unstoppable. And it's kind of funny because like the movie starts off with him at the Camp Crystal Lake Research Center, or Crystal Lake Research Center, I should say, where he's basically like chained up, and the one guard they have watching him just throws a blanket over the guy, and he just like, stop looking at me. And that somehow gives Jason the opportunity to escape. It's never really kind of like explained how he does it. But it's kind of funny because in the last movie, like he went to hell. And so they're like, well, how did he get out at that point? And the filmmakers of this movie kind of justified it by saying like, oh, well, Freddy versus Jason happened after Jason goes to hell because, Freddy basically pulls Jason out of hell in that movie. And so like this canonically in the time frame happens after Freddy versus Jason. Therefore, Jason was out in the world and could be like locked up.
Yeah, you're seeing it out of order.
Okay.
Because it happens like in the future.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and then goes 500 years in the future.
Right.
I'd love to see like space age campers,
Would you like to have premarital sex
and smoke some weed?
So funny.
All right, so let's do some final thoughts and get your rating for this movie. Brian, final thoughts on Jason X, and what would you rate it?
Yeah, at least 2.5 out of 5. I would say I almost want to give it a 3 out of 5 because I laughed so freaking hard. And it followed its own rules. It's not a good movie by any chance, but it does have Lexa Doig in it. It did have a really funny movie that called back to previous movies. The people that made the movie clearly know how to make Jason movies. But you're right, it's not funny. So I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5. I'm gonna be generous and give it 3 out of 5 because I just laughed that hard. But it's not really a Jason movie. It's more of a science fiction movie with a Jason-like character.
Yeah, it's not scary.
All right, Tom, give us your final thoughts on Jason X, and what would you rate it?
Okay, final thoughts. I'm going to base this off of the 3 movies we saw this week, this being my favorite of the 3 movies we saw.
That's crazy.
It is crazy to say out beloud because I'm having trouble. I'm like a bile flavor in the
That
back
makes
of
me
my mouth.
question our friendship, quite frankly.
I get it. This is a very well-known bad movie that people do not like. I'm not a big Jason fan, as you guys very well know. And so, I'm going to give this 2.5 hockey sticks out of 5. Only because Critters 4 was a 2, and because the other movie, which shall not be named, I had to be forced to give a 1-2. So Jason X, 2.5 hockey sticks out of 5. Not the worst Jason movie, not the best Jason movie. I feel like I feel like they spent money appropriately, and I just love people getting frozen and going into the future.
All right, Jude, final thoughts and give it a rating.
My final thoughts are that it was more fun talking about this movie with y'all than it was watching. This movie was painful to watch. I hated it. I could barely get through it. I wanted to quit, but I am no quitter. This is a 1-star crap fest. I hated it. And y'all can feel how you feel. I feel how I feel.
Yeah.
And I will stand on this hill and die on it.
You do it with a Jason mask.
All right. So I actually really enjoy this movie because it is dumb, but it's also dumb and fun. And if you are a Friday the 13th fan, if you're a fan of Jason Voorhees, this is probably like him at like his most campy best. You know, like he's not scary. You're right. But he is the Kane Hodder kind of like swagger Jason, where like he walks around, he just kills fools left and right, doesn't care about anything other than just like murdering people. And then like he gets his upgrade to Uber Jason, and I really like the design of that. I thought it looked pretty cool. And it was just like a fun, stupid entry. Like anytime like horror movies go into outer space, you know that they've like run out of ideas. And but this one was fun because like it kind of paid homage to like all the good Friday the 13th tropes.
Right.
But at the same time, it was very creative and it had a bit of a budget to it. And so like out of all the movies that we watched this week that went to space, it had the best production value and the best special effects and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed it. I'm going to give it 2 solid hockey masks out of 5. And yeah, that's pretty much it. All right, so guys, that was our review of Jason X. Brian, where can people find out more about you?
YouTube.com/thepopcast, Twitter.com/popcast guys. And that's it.
Tom, where can people find you on the socials?
If you really want to find me out there, look me up on Instagram, Big T2681. I take pictures of food and places I've been. Say hi.
Okay.
All right, Jude, where can people find out more about you?
You can find me at I am Jude Juju on Instagram and on TikTok.
And you can find me at Matthew Kadish, Kadish on Twitter and Truth Social. And you can also check us out at saltynerddiscord.com. We have a very active Discord community over there. So if you guys want to come over and join us in our various conversations about movies and TV shows, you're more than welcome to. It's free, and we welcome everyone to come and speak to us in our community. All right, guys, that has been it for Horror Movie Sequels Go to Outer Space Week. We hope you enjoyed it. And next week, Alex and Vader will be back to their normal position. So please join us for then, where we are going to be talking about the Tremors movies, the first 3 Tremors movies.
I missed that.
Yeah, unfortunately. So anyway, guys, hope to see you around. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to us on iTunes, Spotify, or YouTube, wherever you prefer to watch your podcast or listen to your podcast. And until next time, stay salty, my friends.